To our next speaker, Sam Brittain, an independent mortgage and protection specialist with over 20 years of experience. Sam is excellent at her work and is passionate about helping individuals purchase property from all walks of life. Whether you're a first-time buyer or a seasoned investor, Sam handles portfolios for many people and helps simplify what can often be the complicated. She's going to be followed by Sophie Dallas. Sophie has over 10 years of experience and will be joining us virtually today as she's a new mom celebrating her son's first birthday. Over to you, Sam.
Hi, good morning, everybody. When Tendai came to me and said, Sam, on a Friday morning in the middle of a pandemic, I would like you to talk about wills, I was a little bit worried, but actually it's not so bad, because a will is actually you giving everything. It's you giving your heart, it's you giving your soul, and it's you making your final stand. It's a bit nervous having to put a presentation on, so I'm going to try and share my screen, so please bear with me while I do that. Can everybody see that okay?
Yes, we can, Sam.
Fabulous. Okay, so this morning what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be talking about wills, and it's one of those things that is always a little bit nerve-wracking when you actually think about a will. And the legal definition of a will is the general instrument that permits a person, the testator, to make decisions on how his or her estate will be managed and distributed after his or her death. As Tendai said, we've actually all been thinking about what assets we have, what aspirations we have, and actually this isn't about death and make it that, it's about making decisions and making sure that everything that you have actually goes to the right people. It shows your love, it shows your commitment, and it also means that nobody has to worry, and that's a big thing right now. So just looking at who's involved when you make a will. You are the testator, you are the person making the will. You will also have the will writer, which can be a person like me. They're going to help you arrange the will. We're going to guide you through the will. We're going to tell you what's important and give you handy tips as well. It is a legal document. So it is one of these things that you have to make sure it's watertight. And I'm going to give you some really good tips about making sure that it is watertight. The executors, the trustees, and the guardians, they're all people that are going to be involved. Your executors are the people that are going to make it happen. It's nice to be able to know those people, and it's nice to make sure that those people are going to be able to cope in a time of grieving, and actually comply with all the different things that they have to do. The executor still has to put a note in the Gazette, the London Gazette, and they are financially responsible if funds go into the wrong hands. Hence the reason, make it clear. The trustees, I'll go on to the trustees in just a little while because I want to go through a little bit about trusts and what they actually are. And then you've got your guardians. These are the people that you're going to be using to look after your smaller people. Those people that might not be old enough to understand and that are still going to need love and care. And it's good for you to be able to give those people a really clear understanding of how you want to raise your children. When we talk about trusts, we talk about trusts in protection. We talk about trusts for assets, assets being everything that you own that has monetary value. When you have a pension, maybe through work, what you might be asked to do is sign a form that says who those funds will go to. When you do a protection policy, again, you might sign a form to say who those funds are to go to. When we do a will, we have trustees, which you can use for your guardians. They're normally used for under 18s, under 21s, under 27s. that might not quite be ready yet or have the education to be able to understand money and understand the assets. And obviously that's why Tendai opens this up to all age groups, is so that people are prepared. When you have trusts, they can also be used for disabled people, to make sure that if there is a disability, that those people can actually have guidance and care. They're people holding their hand and looking after them until you're actually able to make those decisions for yourself. The witnesses are the people who actually validate your will. So when your will is drawn up, your will is then signed. You sign every page of your will to make, and they're all dated to make sure that a little piece of paper can't go missing. And those people have to ensure that you understand what you're doing. We're very, very good at making sure that everything in your will is your decision, and that's what it's all about. And then you've got the beneficiaries. The beneficiaries are the important people here. These are the people that you want to leave everything to, and it's important that those beneficiaries are looked after, and that's why we make our wills. So if you don't have a will, that's where things become a little bit difficult. If you die without a will, it means you die intestate. It doesn't even sound like a nice word. Intestacy laws of where you reside, obviously we've got people from everywhere here, they will actually determine how the property, that's your house, your cash, your jewelry, your clothing, your memorabilia, all your worldly assets. It depends on where you are. So you do have to make sure that you are complying with the local arrangements in intestate. We do work hard for our loved ones. We work hard. It's become so much more important that the people around us are cared for. And it's important for us to make the right decisions. So when we're looking at a will, it means that those decisions aren't handed out to anybody else. They are our decisions. Just on your screen here, there's a flow chart, and that flow chart actually shows what happens in intestate. So if we start at the top, it's kind of, are you married? Aren't you married? If you're not married and you don't have any children, then, and you don't have anybody that can claim or make claim to you, those funds could go into the government. They might not be where you want them to be. It might be that you're not married, you don't have children, you don't have anybody that you want to give funds to, but you might have a charity close to your heart that you might want to give funds to. If you are married, but you don't have children, normally your spouse would inherit everything. It does depend on amounts as well. So, for instance, if you are married, you do have children, and your funds are worth less than 250,000, then your spouse inherits everything. If it's more than 250,000, your spouse will get 250,000, and then everything else will, your chattels, everything else, that will then actually be divided up again. So it's really, really important that we put things in place. Now, just having a little bit of a stand back here and a little bit of a top tip. When you're looking at chattels, that could be anything from your jewelry to your favorite guitar, or that ornament that sits on the side that your grandchild always walks in the house and goes, I love that. It might be one of those really small things, but it's very, very important because it shows a love. It gives you a feeling and you want to give it to somebody. Now, to make sure that that item actually goes to the right person, the best thing to do is to take a photo of it, write on the back of that photo the description. So it could be my grandmother's engagement ring with a solitaire and a platinum band. It's a nice description. It's got a photo. It can't go wrong. So what you do is you put that with your will, and then your executor can pick up that photo and go, wow, I know exactly who that's got to go to. But the other thing about that, which is a really handy tip, is if you lose that piece of jewelry and you've got your insurance in place, then actually, if they want to replicate that piece of jewelry, you can go, here, there's my photograph. So it proves the item. It makes sure that it can be remade if need be, but it also means that it won't fail in your will because it's identified. So that's a top tip for your home insurance, but also for making your will. The other sorts of things that you can do is, especially if you are having guardians put in place for your will, for your children, you can actually do what's called a letter of wishes. And that letter of wishes basically comes from the heart. And it's something that you put with your will that's a letter, and it purely states, I want my son or daughter to keep going to church on a Sunday, to keep seeing their family on a weekly basis. I want them to go to a certain school. I don't want them to be driving at 17. It's all of those things. It's not legally binding, but it's your wishes, and it's showing again how you care. Please, please, please don't worry about a will being taboo. Please share it with your executors and discuss it with them. If you do that, then you can guarantee that your last word will be held and it will be upstanding. And that's what it's all about. So where do you start? The first thing to do is actually sit and make a list of your assets and a list of your liabilities. If you have facility to have a safe, if you have facility to have passwords, bank account numbers, policy numbers, all sorts of things like that, it's a really good idea. Don't keep them all together. Please don't put your passwords in a safe that you can't, that people are going to get access to. Don't write passwords down. Assets and liabilities, account numbers, sort codes, don't keep them with your passports. Please make sure that you do take your own security very, very seriously, but write down lists of assets and write down lists of liabilities. Assets, like I say, if you've got protection and that protection has a trust in place, or if your pension has a trust in place, what you can do is that can completely circumvent the will. It can go to the right beneficiary at the right time. So please make sure all of your protections, all of your pensions, all of your anything that can have a trust on it is updated regularly and reviewed regularly to make sure the right beneficiaries are on there. It does circumvent the will, it doesn't become part of the will, and it is made to that beneficiary quicker. Okay, so please make sure that you do that. And also your liabilities. These people are going to have to make sure that actually, if there's a liability that needs to be paid on your death, make it easy for them. This is what a will is about. It's making easy. Collect all the names, the dates of birth and addresses of beneficiaries. Yes, the addresses might not be on the will. Yes, people move addresses, but it gives the executors a starting place of where they can actually look for these people, especially if you haven't updated your will for a while, or if the executor doesn't know these people personally. Please make sure that you collect these things. Obviously, the dates of birth means that if a trust needs to be put in place for a young person, then it makes it easier for the executor to pick up straight away. Just a point that trusts need to be registered with HMRC. It's coming out now that they do need to be registered with HMRC when they do get set up. Speak to the people that you want to be your executors, your trustees and your guardians. Have their names and addresses ready. And as I say, don't be afraid to speak to those people to make sure they understand what you want. You can also think about your funeral wishes. I've had some absolutely amazing funeral wishes that it's a celebration. It's a celebration of your life. And actually, if you want it to be a celebration of your life, make it a celebration of your life. Make it a happy event for people to remember what you've done and what legacies you've left behind. And it is all about your legacy. You're giving your legacy, you're giving your love to those people that you have left behind. It's making your last stand. And then finally, if you are going to do it on your own, please be very, very careful. There's certain clauses and things that are in wills that you might not put in yourself. It's 18th century law, some of will writing, so it's not easy to understand. So speak to somebody that can help you to make sure that all your wishes are covered. They might think of something that you haven't thought of, but also to make sure that you are aware of what trusts and things you can put in place to make sure that what you want to happen is going to happen. My contact details are just there on the screen. As Tendai says, I'm a mortgage and protection specialist, but I also do wills for clients. So if you have any questions, then please feel free to ask.
Thank you so much, Sam. That is amazing. I love the way you said it is a legacy, for your loved ones. It just puts a whole change on it. I know traditionally, as an African woman, it's a conversation that I find many of my clients previously, especially the ladies, they would say, "Oh my gosh, my husband doesn't want it," because it's almost like you're foretelling that I'm going to die by writing a will. But we're all on earth on the side of eternity for a set time, and it just does mean that things remain a bit more organized if you have that in place. So thank you so much, Sam, for that. Sam, do you mind stopping your share of the screen? Thank you, Dank. Wonderful. So I want you guys to have a think about your questions about wills, and of course she was talking based on the United Kingdom. If you have a will on properties in the UK, I know many of us here have properties here, properties abroad. You will need to do a will for every jurisdiction that you are in. So this is based on your assets that are here in the United Kingdom.